Ready? Good morning, everyone. My name is Tashira Garraway. I am the founder of Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence. I stand here today with a number of families who have lost loved ones at the hands of police here in the state of Minnesota. As I too lost the father of my son, Justin Tigan, who was brutally beat to death by the St. Paul police and thrown inside of a trash dumpster August 19, 2009. Since Justin's murder, I have been continuously followed and harassed by the St. Paul Police Department. Justin's murder was the epitome of a cover-up here in the state of Minnesota. His murder was also the epitome of a hate crime committed by law enforcement here in the state of Minnesota. I am also here to speak with all the rest of the families who are out here hurting in the state of Minnesota due to the pain that law enforcement has inflicted upon our communities. We do understand that law enforcement does serve and protect a certain group of people. But we also understand that it is a certain group of people that have been brutalized and hurt by law enforcement. And that is Black, Indigenous, and minority people, and even poor white people that have been harmed by the state of Minnesota, and by its government officials, which are the police. So we are asking today that the legislators, that the Senate, the people in the Senate, like Warren Limmer and Mark Johnson, and Paul Gazelka and Andrew Matthews, have enough heart to care about other human beings. We don't hate police, but we in fact want people that harm other human beings, that have done wrong to other human beings, to be held accountable for the hurt and the harm that they have caused in our communities. That is all that we want. We have police officers that we believe are good, but when you do wrong, no matter your title, you must be held accountable. So we want to work together, and the only way to do that is to hold people accountable. If a person is not held accountable for their wrongdoings, the wrongdoings will continue. So they will just find a different way to cover it up. And that is what led us to the place that we got to with George Floyd. Prior to George Floyd, there had been over 470 murders here in the state of Minnesota that had been covered up, that led up to George Floyd. This is not an isolated issue, what happened to George Floyd. But instead, he represents hundreds of murders and hundreds of bodies that have been covered up in this state. And enough is enough, and it's wrong. Our families need, but most of all, we deserve accountability. We deserve justice. We deserve that. So we're asking the Senate to find it in their hearts as human beings to do the right thing today. They are debating on the bills. We have cried out to you guys. We have met with you guys. We have pleaded. Our lives are on the line. Black men's lives are on the line. Human being lives are on the line. And enough is enough. Do the right thing for the people in which you serve. And that is the people in our communities, all people, all human beings. Do right by all human beings. Thank you. I will now call up the sister of Jamar Clark.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Roberson/Burns. I'm the sister of Jamar Clark. He was a 24-year-old young man that was brutally murdered, shot in the face by Minneapolis police. Within 60 seconds of interaction with the police, our family, along with Tashira, our family have been tormented, and tried to be intimidated, by the police, and nothing's happened. Nothing's been done about it. No one's come to our defense. No one's come to help us or to do anything about the police harassing us, the police brutally killing my brother in front of a 10-year-old little boy. Nothing's happened, and that's why we're here today. We are needing you all to pass these bills for our not only for our loved ones, but everyone to come. We don't want to see this happen again. We don't want to be here. We have to be here. We shouldn't have to fight this hard to get accountability. This is sad that we have to be here like this, pleading and begging every day for you all to do something about this problem, this modern day lynching that we're dealing with today. Please, I beg you, find it in your heart to pass these bills that we are so needing for our community members and for our families. Thank you.
We will now call forward the significant other of George Floyd, Courtney Ross.
Hello, my name is Courtney Ross. I am the fiance of George Floyd. I've spent the last year grieving, staying inside my house, watching my children suffer, watching my family suffer. But my year of grieving is over, and now I'm ready to speak. So if you're not going to listen today, I guarantee you we'll be here tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, and I will get louder and louder and louder until these walls start to crack, because I refuse to sit by and watch another special session go and not see accountability for our loved ones. I'm going to spend this 1 second to specifically talk to Senator Warren Limmer. Please stop using our platform as a way to scare people. Saying that we are going to defund the police and it's going to affect the communities negatively is a joke. We know that because of poverty, because of oppression, that's why people are acting out. They have no money, they have no hope, and they have no goals. So that is what we need to focus on. We do not need to focus on all your scare tactics and trying to get your constituents to be afraid of what's really going on. And the fear that's really going on is inside this session right now. Change the laws, or you will hear from me day after day. I guarantee it. Thank you.
We will now call forward the grandfather of Brian Quinones.
My name is Donnie Williams. This is Brian Quinones. He will never be forgotten. I'll make sure of it. We come here today to ask for the Republican Senate to do the right thing. They're not doing the right thing. They're anesthetized. They want to live in their world where they don't feel pain. These families feel pain every day. I listened to words from Warren Limmer this morning and I was disgusted. I teach civics, teach my kids that they have to go through their government. That's the way they're supposed to do things. It's the way we've been taught our entire lives. And now I get to tell them that when they do that, expect to go through politicians who have an agenda that doesn't meet all of the population. Because that's what Gazelka, that's what Limmer, that's what these other people do. They have their agenda. Why were none of these bills ever given a hearing in the Senate? Because Limmer and Gazelka don't want them to be passed. That's a personal agenda. These aren't the guys we need representing Minnesota, period. Every time a cop kills someone and they are not held accountable, Warren Limmer, Paul Gazelka, you are complicit. You are just as guilty as the man that pulls the trigger, or woman that pulls the trigger. And what kind of a human being are you? it affects you not at all. I challenge your humanity. And now I challenge you to do the right thing. Hold these policemen accountable. Hold this system accountable. Your transparency is a joke. And unfortunately, it's not a funny joke. Because people like Brian Quinones die, and you sit back and do nothing. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to stolen lives.
All power to stolen lives.
I will introduce two more families that came. This is the mother of Jefford Smith. This is Matilda Smith. She does not have the words to say today. It is too emotional. She also just lost a nephew. We must understand that after law enforcement murders our loved ones in cold blood, that it is a ripple effect throughout our families. Matilda Smith's son, Jefford Smith, was shot 49 to 52 times by the St. Paul police. The St. Paul police went around with little notes and gave it to people in the local area, of giving them witness statements to tell the media. One of the officers that in fact murdered her son decided to move in her building and taunt Miss Matilda Smith. We also have here with us Bailey. His son was the La'i. We are in the middle of the Minneapolis police covering up his son's murder as well. So there's cover up after cover up after cover up. I also want to speak on behalf of Dante Wright's mother, who could not make it, but she was on her way this morning. We know that the officer, Kim Potter, that murdered her son was in fact in the Kobe Heisler's murder, and that murder was a cover up as well. And had the police accountability bills got passed last year during the special session when our families were fighting, Dante Wright would be alive right now had there been police accountability bills. We will now call forward someone who has sat with our families, heard our stories. We're going to first call up Jonathan McCollin, who wrote some of these police accountability bills, and then we will have Michelle Gross. We will now call John McCollin. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan McClellan. I'm president of the Minnesota Justice Coalition. We are part of a collective of organizations that work with the families and communities to draft and advance legislation and other policy initiatives at the state capitol here in St. Paul and in Washington, D.C. I want to give my deepest condolences to the families who should not have to be here and whose lives have been changed forever. Everything has led to this moment. These families have suffered for far too long, and we have an opportunity to provide these families a way to get answers. We are in a state of affairs of our quest to obtain justice and equality, with Minnesota being ground zero of the match that has sparked this outpouring of consciousness for our shared community. We are still here waiting to cash that check that has fallen on a bankrupt system of expedient politicians, administrators, and tolerant allies of the same in opposition to progress for a more perfect union. For far too long, we have been victims of this plague, and we're here to say no more. We shouldn't have to fear the police. Minnesota needs legislation that values human life, promotes accountability and transparency, and can be verified with data, not a deck stacked against the people in favor of the police. Law enforcement for decades has been pushing legislation to chip away at our liberties, our rights, and our communities by pushing policies that absolve them of their crimes, weaken and remove the checks of accountability, transparency, and justice, with access to unlimited resources and unfettered access to our elected leaders. Today is not a good day for the people. It is a good day for the bad actors in the police departments. They get funding, they get to write their own rules, investigate themselves, and hide behind the slogan of protect and serve that protects their own and serves themselves. And the families who suffered are left picking up the pieces while they hide behind a 3-year statute of limitations and get to control the video that can provide accountability. Every budget year, the police come up with their hands out asking for more money, and these elected officials give them a blank check, while the people get nothing in return but a bill the next budget year. When does it stop? When do we say enough is enough? The police need to evolve, and some of these legislators need to evolve or get out of the way. Martin Luther King said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." Pass the amendments.
We will now call forward someone who has worked with our impacted families for over 30 years and just has done incredible work to help us when we did not have other entities to help our families. This is a woman that did. I call forward Michelle Gross.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Gross, MICHELLE-GROSS, and I am the president of Communities United Against Police Brutality. What we've brought forward to the legislature are measures that would allow families to achieve some measure of justice. They can never have full justice because they can never bring their family member back. But the idea of giving families access to the court system, access to the video footage of their loved one, these are simple concepts that should be uncontroversial in every way. Minnesota has one of the shortest statutes of limitations in the country, and that needs to change. We are simply asking to allow families access to the courts. These are, again, common sense, simple measures that under any other circumstances would easily have passed and been uncontroversial. But what we have instead is we have legislators who, as other people have pointed out, have an agenda, and that agenda is to placate law enforcement at all costs. That agenda needs to end. Law enforcement, through their actions, have lost the legitimacy to define what public safety looks like in this community. Public safety is not automatically equal to police. Public safety means access to resources. Public safety means alternative responses. Public safety means justice for people whose families have been harmed by police violence. You cannot achieve public safety simply by clamping down harder on people who are already clamped down on. You cannot achieve public safety by continuing the injustices of the past. It is past time that we have these bills passed. It's to me, it's shameful. We are the epicenter of an international movement to end police violence, and yet we somehow cannot get common sense legislation that would bring forth some measure of justice across the finish line. And that's because of the selfish agendas of law enforcement and their backers in the legislature. We are done with it. We are demanding and insisting that these bills be passed, and we will stay here until they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We will now call forward Bailey, the father of the Lahi.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bailey, B-A-Y-L-E, and my last name is G-E-L-L-E, Bailey. And I'm the father of Dolal Eid. I'm the father of Dolal Eid, who was killed in December 30th in Minneapolis, our holiday gas station, our 7 and 0. The reason I'm here, from that day until now, we didn't get any information at all, my son. They was just to show us, the police, they was just to show us 28 seconds they was killing my son. And what we know, there are so many cameras at the car wash in Holiday, and there are 4 at the land gas, there are 12. That is 4 plus 1, which is 1. And inside of there was so many cameras. They don't want to release all those video. They don't want to show us the proof. And what we are standing here, we need a justice. And it's really shameful and it's really painful when someone kills your son and still they have a uniform and they have a gun and they have a bomb. And they will never get any answer or ask them why you killed them. Why? our justice, we are saying that we are in America, and this land is this the democratic country. And all of us, we are American, and we need to have the same rights and same justice. And we are looking for our justice. And they say police brutality, we have to make reform, and we change it. And if they know the police, when they will kill someone, they're gonna go in prison. They did not do anymore. But it's the system who was killing us. It's not only the police, it's the system who was killing us. And all of us, we know, our love of awareness will never be back, but still they are on heart. And we are demanding with the governor, the mayor, all the rulers, we need, it has to stop it. Okay, they wanted to increase the money to the police. And we are demanding, we need a good cop. We don't need a gangs, a bad cop. Thank you, guys.
We will now call forward a mother who has been fighting for her son for the last 25 years. Her 18-year-old son, Demetrius Hill, was brutally shot in the back by the St. Paul Police Department. Marilyn Hill.
Welcome. Thank you. Yes, my name is Marilyn Hill. I've been fighting for justice for 25 years. It's not just justice, it's about these stolen lives from since then. These police is out here killing innocent children. And since Warren Leominster is supposed to have, we voted for him. We voted for him due to the fact that he was going to look at the accountability of police actions. He allowed Tim Walz to sign a bill regarding as far as immunity, qualified immunity, to help their police don't get sued. And I feel that that's unfair. We're looking for our public safety within ourselves. You know, we are victims. We are dealing with police out here killing innocent souls. And when Warren Lynn was sitting on this seat, and the day that Tim Walz signed that bill, he was nowhere to be there in order to stop it or have any say so. I think that's unfair. I know that his time is coming up in 2023, and if he don't show us some type of justice or justify what he said that he was going to do, who's going to vote for him when his time is up? My son was brutally murdered. He was shot with 6 holes in his back. And today I still feel pain. And when I look at my report and find out some of the lies that's been put in there, knowing that there's the truth and the witnesses' statements does not reply to what's been written, I want justice. I need help. And we have these senators sitting up on these seats not doing nothing. All they doing is sitting there getting richer. I don't think it's fair for us when we voted for them in the beginning, how they were all up under us, making it seem like they were going to be there for us and help us get through this brutality of police violence. And from then on, it was just one day after another, an innocent child was being killed. Since 1990, since April of 28th of 97, my son was shot. My son was killed. One of the officers that's sitting head of records today, it's been a trend of murders. It's been alternated film, records, it's going on. They want to come here from out of state to investigate Minneapolis when this is a twin city state. I don't feel it's right that they don't look at St. Paul's police department. There is police that's been there back in the 80s that's been involved in murders. And Warren Leominster, he could have been one of the murders too. That's why he sold for the police officers. All I want is to see something change, and hopefully God will step in and have mercy on these officers And plus that, these senators and governors need to have a little bit more heart and filter and understand that we are mothers that hurt. When their child get taken from them, how would they feel if someone innocent taking a child from them by just out of I can't even know how to put the words together. You know, someone just murder your child, unexpectedly. I can see if you're sick and dying of cancer, but when somebody shoots your child, knowing they took the future. I don't have a grandchild for me. I can't see another grandchild or great-grandchild. That was my firstborn child. I saw me in him when I watched him. My daughter looked down and saw this big old hole where he used a clock of 15 on him. It hurts. These officers can't keep getting away with shooting, killing. They take innocent souls, like they depopulating the community. For what reason? Why? That's my question. What are they doing for us? I leave that to think about. Thank you.
We will now conclude our press conference. Is there any questions? Last thing, since there's not any questions, I would just like to say to the officers that are out there, you know what you've done. You know what you've done to our families. You know exactly all of the murders that have been covered up, that each of you have been a part of. You have families that you go home to, and you destroyed a lot of our families. But there is no one good deed that goes unpunished, and every last one of you that have been a part of these murders, you will all reap what you have sown. All of the pain that you've inflicted on our communities for no real reason, for unjust cause, for these hate crimes that you've committed against our people. And to you legislators, to Warren Limmer, to Paul Gazelka, to Mark Johnson, to Andrew Matthews, I want to tell you guys, just because it never happened to you or somebody you love doesn't mean that it's not happening to the rest of our communities, the poor, indigenous, black communities, and even poor white people. We understand that the police protect higher paid, upper class white people like yourselves. But there's a certain group of people that they have brutalized, and we're not crying and pleading for justice for no reason. There's been many bodies, and it's blood on the hands of Minnesotans. To all of you legislators, it's blood on your hands. And enough is enough. So make it equal. Make it so other human beings can live in the community without being afraid of law enforcement. There is no just moving forward. We cannot move forward until people are held accountable for their actions and the hurt and the harm that they've committed against other human beings. So pass the statute of limitation for wrongful death, as well as the Kobe bill. Release the video footages. Pass the Philando Castile Act, so that way we can get money in the communities to address the violence that you speak about. How can you say that there's so much violence, but the kids don't have no rec centers? They have no money in our communities. So of course, at that point, we don't have anything, but you give money to the police departments. The people that are obviously a part of the problem that everybody is crying and pleading about. The people are not crying and pleading for no reason. It is a reason for all of this. Thank you. Do you have questions?
So your plans for the next couple of days as far as responding to whatever happens today and tomorrow?
Our plan is to continue to be at this Capitol and continue to apply the pressure that is needed for people to get the justice that they deserve. We deserve for these bills, police accountability bills, to get passed. We are in a state of emergency. We can't settle for anything less. If we wait another year to fight for these bills, there's going to be more bodies. We can't afford more blood on the streets. And what people don't understand, like Warren Lemmer and Paul Gazelka, is that if the police do not get held accountable for their actions, we're facing another situation that happened when George Floyd got killed.
Yep.
So does any of you guys want to answer to that?
I just like to say, by them signing the bill to cover up arson, Mama, come up. By them signing, by Tim Watts signing that bill to cover police not being sued for what they do, that's giving them the authority to just shoot us. And I don't think that's right. You know, we're fighting for public safety. We're fighting for accountability, the legislation to look in this, also the senators to be fair with this here. But when they signing bills behind our back and then they're not coming in unity with it, they're telling us they don't care. That's just letting us know that somehow they're hiding something from us. Like the money that he put out, all these billions of dollars for school. Where this money went to? That billions of dollars that he set forth and signed that bill for school, it didn't go into our community. It went out to the white supremacists. I got a 7-year-old daughter, and I talked to some teachers, and I asked them what kind of fundings did the school get when they opened the doors? None. That's not right.
We will now have Michelle Gross answer that question as well.
I want to say that we know that the governor issued an executive order yesterday. We like some of the content of that executive order, but unfortunately it does not go nearly far enough. When we talk about the governor saying that, for example, state police officers, like the state troopers, DNR and so forth, will have to show their body camera footage within 5 days. First of all, it needs to be much faster than 5 days. But more than that, that does not affect all of the numerous law enforcement agencies in this state. You know, that only covers a couple of law enforcement agencies, and while we value that, it does not help most of the families that you see up here. And so we do need to have actual state laws changed in order for these families to be able to have access to that body camera footage. Further, it does nothing to allow families to access the court system. We need to extend the statute of limitations. There is an amendment to the House bill right now that would extend the statute of limitations to 6 years with a 3-year look-back period. That amendment needs to pass. Yes. That amendment needs to pass. We cannot accept anything less than that. So while we appreciate the governor's efforts, they don't go nearly far enough. And so it's our expectation that these bills, or rather that these amendments will pass on the floor and that the Senate will stop blockading the changes that need to happen. And that's what we're working for. And we are going to stay here until that happens. We have intention to camp out here all day long, and we'll be back again tomorrow if we need to be. Thank you.
Any other questions? Did you want to respond to that? All right, we will conclude the press conference for today. Thank you.
Thank you all. How you doing?
Nice to meet you in person.
Nice to see you. Do you have to kind of sit your head around like all these big tall cameras?
You know, it helps in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Make sure. Yeah, no, thank you, Jesse. Thank you.
You get a 16